It's a wonderful pleasure to be joined by the band Amity from Newfoundland. Um,
Thank you for
they
having us.
yeah, so they are Hilary North, Alyssa Delaney, and Emma Bursey. Welcome, you three, to the show.
Hi.
Okay, so
Hey,
so for the benefit of the listeners, why don't you say your name and well, I suppose who you are.
Okay. So my name is Hilary North, and I'm from Redhead Cove.
My name is Alyssa Delaney, and I'm from Northern Bay.
I'm Emma Bursey.
Mhm. Okay. So
And I'm Emma Bursey, and I'm from Old Pearlkin.
mhm. So is this the band where you each play an instrument, or is it like a vocal group where you all do the vocals?
We do it all. So I typically play acoustic guitar, and Alyssa plays electric guitar and sometimes the acoustic, and Emma plays the acoustic guitar as well. But recently she's been playing the mandolin, which is cool. And Alyssa played harmonica once in one of her
I've been
songs.
trying.
Mhm. And I'm guess and you are all in high school at the moment?
Yeah, we're all in grade 12.
Mhm. Yeah, that must be fun. So how has high school been
Yes.
treating you so far?
High school, like, not that I want to wish my time away, but I'm ready to
Oh,
graduate now.
Mhm.
But I did like high school.
Really? Mhm. I've been told before we started recording that you're in the
high school's
drama
okay.
that you're in the drama scene. So tell me more about that.
So we started in drama and theater when we were all in grade 7. So the way our high school system works here, where we're in such a small community, is that our high school actually starts in the 7th grade.
Mhm.
So we all joined drama when we went to the same high school, even though well, me and Emma went to the same elementary schools and Alyssa went to a different one. And since then, we've been involved in it every single year, and it's just kind of something we look forward to every single year.
Mhm. So tell me about the play which you're doing.
Alyssa, you have a pretty good description of it. Maybe you can tell.
I'll give it a go. It's a play, and it takes back probably I'm gonna say late 1800s, and it's about an island, and there's this sort of legend on this island that there's a monster in the red house. And the main character's father basically brought back a token from this house and was like, yeah, well, we defeat the monster and whatever. This is this great big legend of this monster that lives in this house, and it kind of overwhelms their little town and their island. And throughout the play, they learn that the monster is just an old woman who's grieving her daughter and her husband. And there's a lot of questioning of morals and how we're all human and those kinds of things.
Mhm. Okay. And tell me about the roles that you guys are playing in that one.
Emma plays Hannah Gold, so she's sort of the main character. Hilary plays her mom, and I play the monster.
Wonderful. And you said that it's going to take place Tuesday next week from time of this recording?
Is it? I think it
Thursday.
might be. We're doing it Friday.
Oh, okay.
We're doing it for our school this Thursday, and next Friday we're going to compete at Drama Fest. So we'll see how it goes.
Wonderful. Tell me about the previous plays or musicals that you've done as a group together.
Well, last year we did a really cool one, and I got to play sort of this mad clown. It was called Clowns with Guns, and honestly, it was a bit messed up, but it was cool.
Mhm.
So, the entire premise of it was kind of like a circus, and it talked a lot about school violence and school shootings in America. And it was kind of like a dramatized version of it, where the kids also played spectacles in this circus. So that was very interesting. Another year we did a Twilight Zone play where Emma had a big role in that one, I believe, right? I think her internet is slow.
Yeah, I played I wasn't the lead, but I played a nurse. Yeah, my internet sucks. But yeah, it was called The Eye of the Beholder, and it kind of just talked about the expectations of beauty and how everybody has their own perception of that. So it was a really cool play to start off our little careers in drama in high school. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm. So, any of you guys fans of the original Twilight Zone TV show?
I actually have not seen a whole lot of it, which is probably shocking, but I haven't seen much and I should.
Yeah, I should see it too. Yeah, Rod Serling and
Yeah, I haven't either.
there's this one really great episode where the plot revolves around a town where there's a kid with like superpowers, and he's like a really bratty kid, but he has superpowers, so the entire town has to kind of like listen to him and appease him. And oftentimes, Twilight Zone's episodes are like allegories of real life phenomenons and events and issues, and this one is kind of like takes a look at how, in some ways, how inflated like the self-image of children can be. Yeah.
Twilight Zone is always really neat with that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Like it's so
cool.
witty.
For sure. They always have great messages behind this, like a super crazy plot.
I know that there has been a recent remake of Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele, but that didn't take off, unfortunately. Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one.
Exactly.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Well, anyways, it's better to check out the original. So, tell me a bit about your musical backgrounds.
Well, I grew
Who
up
would like to start
doing
on
music
this?
with I grew up doing music with my sister as a little duo. Her name is Haley. And she kind of taught me how to play guitar a little bit and do harmonies. So that's where I got my start. And I was terrified to sing by myself for years and years and years. I had to have somebody with me. And then my sister is older than me. So she graduated high school, and all of a sudden I was left alone and frightened with me and my guitar. So eventually I pressured through it, but I sang by myself for like a year and a half. And then our band started. So then I no longer had to sing by myself, which was great.
No, Alyssa or Emma?
Okay, I'll give it a go. When I grew up in a family that had a lot of, we celebrated music a lot, especially my dad. So I used to watch him play guitar and sing a lot. He doesn't like to do it for people, which I find is really strange because I always looked up to him for how good he was at it. And I loved it, and I always played. And I probably got my first guitar when I was probably around 7. And I was in lessons for a little bit, but he mostly taught me, and then I mostly just taught myself and I sang along. And when we got down to high school and I got into a class with the two of them, I was in a separate class for a long time. We all did things like Backloo Idol, and we all sang a little bit. And I feel like it's just always been a part of our lives. And yeah, that's how I started.
I guess I'll go now. I started pretty young. I started voice lessons when I was 4, because my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, started, and he was so good at singing, and I was a mess. Like, I did not know what I was doing. And like I could sing before I knew how to read 1,000%, but I wasn't very good. But the difference between me and my brother was my brother hated singing, but was so good at it. And I was terrible at it, but I loved it. So I ended up sticking it out. And I grew up singing a lot of gospel music because in my town, a lot of the shows that used to happen were gospel, and I wanted anything to be in on it. So I was singing gospel songs that I didn't really know what was going on in these songs, but I was singing them because I like getting up on stage. I like that aspect of it. And I started playing guitar probably grade 6, I want to say, and I don't love it, but it's so good for performing, just being able to get up with you and a guitar and just do it. But yeah, that's how I kind of got started out. And I've never sung in a group until we got together in June. And performing is completely different with a group, and it's so fun. Like that's my favorite thing about being in a band is the fun you have on stage. It's a completely different environment, especially with writing songs too. So yeah, that's me.
Me and
So
Emma are completely different with the guitar playing because I cannot be on stage without an instrument or I freak out. Like I don't know what to do with my hands and I'm just stood up there like I look like I'm frozen in place. I'm either frozen or in place or I'm twirling. Like there's no in between.
Wow. So how did you three come to meet each other?
Me and Hilary grew up together. We went to the same elementary school, and we were always friends growing up, and we always did music together growing up. Very casually, of course. But we met Alyssa when we went to high school in grade 7. And ever since, I mean, we were just, for one, we were really good friends. And for two, we were involved in a lot of the same things because we enjoyed music and we were involved in the music program. And that just led us to being good friends. Best friends.
Wonderful. So aside from music and drama, what are some of the other hobbies that you guys share?
Um, I play sports. I play on my school's volleyball team. And I play other things too, but that's my other favorite thing to do besides music. Yeah, that's me.
I used to play sports with Emma at one point until I realized that I couldn't really play sports. So now I just go watch Emma play sports. But honestly, like I just really like music. That's really my thing. I love everything to do with it. I love poetry and I love lyrics. And I kind of just fixate on that a little bit too much. It gets weird sometimes.
And I never even tried to play sports because it was never my thing. But I did a lot of art and painting and drawing, and I had my own little thing running for a little while, face painting. So I guess you could say that was a hobby for me for a long time, and still is, and probably will be for the rest of my life.
Wonderful. Yeah, I remember playing some sports like soccer or badminton when I was a kid, mostly because other people were doing it. And at some point I realized that I wasn't good at it. Actually, immediately after. But because everyone else was doing it, I kind of had to do it like reluctantly. And I never liked it. I Most of my hobbies I picked up myself. For example, I never listened to the kind of music that everyone's listening to, or I never watched the same kind of movies that everyone was watching. I remember when I was in middle school, and I think that was grade 7 or 8. So the show The Walking Dead was popular at that time when everyone was talking about it. I tried to catch up with the episodes, but I couldn't. So so at that point, I ended up watching, like deliberately seeking out the things that nobody had watched. I think I started with Quentin Tarantino movies, and now my taste in movies have gotten pretty odd right now. So yeah. Yeah, so tell me about your musical inspirations.
I like a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, and I also like a lot of folk music, but it's not at all limited to that. Like my playlists get insanely chaotic. But right now, like I love Bruce Springsteen and I love Tragically Hip. They're some of my favorites. I'm really into this band called First Aid Kit right now, and they're Swedish, and they're two sisters. And Emma and Alyssa hear me talk with them all the time, and I'm pretty sure it drives them a little bit crazy. Um, but I'm really into everything. I love it all, and every now and then it changes. Like I could probably name every single One Direction song,
Mhm.
um, along with say Bruce Springsteen. Um, so I find when I'm writing music, it kind of reflects my influences to what they're specific to in that time.
Mhm. Right. So let's hear from the others.
For me, see, Hilary is very much like an artist person. Like she wants to pick an artist and listen to their whole discography and then hyperfixate on it and obsess over it like a crazy person. And listen, I wish I was like that because the dedication she has to listening to music is actually unmatched. Like it's insane. But for me, I'm very much like I'll listen to one or two songs by an artist and I love those two songs and I listen to them to death, but I know nothing else. So when I say I have favorite groups or favorite artists, like I'm not like a super fan, but like I just love certain things that they create and they like really resonate with me. So I grew up with rock music. So like I love Fleetwood Mac, like those like classic groups, like a little bit of folky influence, but also like Stevie Nicks is my favorite person in the entire world. Like I love her to death.
Mhm.
And a lot of like female rockers, like I love the girls from Hurt, that band. Like I grew up with them. Like I love powerful women doing music. I love it. I also love some new stuff. I love Lana Del Rey, one of my absolute favorites. I've been into Mazzy Star recently. Even some like 2000s, 90s like edgy pop girls. Like I love Avril. I love Sheryl Crow. And yeah, that's kind of I like Jewel too, but that's pretty much the gist of what I like to listen to.
I agree with Emma, with the powerful female in music kind of thing. I think it's probably the most important thing to me growing up anyway. And same thing with she said about Hilary. She's like a discography person. I'm not a discography person. Like I'll listen to a few songs by everybody. So I grew up listening to a lot of the Stones with my dad. And also, I'm gonna say my dad because he's the one who got me into a lot of music and showed me a lot of different things and played and got me to be inspired to play and sing myself. So that's what I'm gonna say.
So my favorite musician is Leonard Cohen. I think he's the most amazing poet, songwriter, and human there is. And he's written a couple of novels in his early days. I read one of them, and it's very weird. Like it is. If you are familiar with his music and his prose, so to speak, is out of this world. Um, and I am also a fan of the singer-songwriter music because being someone who cannot like read music or play music, I tend to focus more on the lyrics and if the lyrics manage to express something that I haven't been able to say like on my own before, then that is something that I something that I necessarily gravitate towards. Um, I remember also in high school I was really into Neil Young because high school at the time for me was terrible. I don't miss anything from it really. Uh, what I do miss is how after uh, after a terrible day in high school, which is almost every day, I listen to Neil Young on the school bus trip home, and that would kind of like console me for the length of time that the bus takes me from school to home, I suppose. Um, so uh, so of the three music tastes that you have, so to what extent are they overlap with each other, or do they influence each other? So how do you guys manage to influence each other's music preferences?
I find that mine overlaps a lot with both Emma and Alyssa, but one of the most specific things that I can remember is when Alyssa first started really getting into System of a Down.
Mhm.
And that's really not my music at all, or a thought at the time. And I listened to it and I felt like my world shifted for some reason. Like it actually physically affected me. And so I would sit down in my room on my guitar and I would make little folk covers of System of a Down song. Like it was the most insane thing in the world. Um, but honestly, everything that Emma and Alyssa listen to, I somehow get my hands on it as well. So especially when we're writing music, I'll mention a song and how I feel about that song and how I want it to kind of come out in the song we're writing. There's always that connection there when we're writing together because we all know the song. But we spend so much time together, right? So we're all hearing the same music. Like when I'm driving and say Alyssa's in the passenger seat and Emma's out the back, we're always switching who's actually on Bluetooth or on aux. So we all hear each other's music all the time.
Mhm. So Emma, Alyssa.
Yeah, yeah. We listen, but like we have different individual tastes, but at the same time, like we honestly do listen to a lot of the same music. I guess because we all have such diverse taste in general. And I feel like we have like the ability just to recognize whether or not a song is good or not. So like we'll be in the car and Alyssa will play System of a Down or something and we'll be rocking out, okay? And then Hilary will play our little folk ditties, her little folk songs, and we'll all be like, "Yeah, this is awesome." And like I think we have those diverse tastes, but they literally just overlap because we have the ability to just recognize that songs are hooky and interesting and something that makes you want to keep listening. So like I think generally like that's kind of like the way our music overlaps is just the appreciation of good music.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've all sort of had the same life experience in a way too. So the music that we find relates to us a lot. And I feel like when it relates to one of us, it relates to all of us, if not in the same way, then in a different way.
Mhm.
And we all listen to like very different things individually, but somehow it works as a dynamic when I bring it in. Like I don't think that Hillary and Emma would ever go on the internet and listen to like crazy metal music like I would sometimes. And I probably wouldn't listen to some of the things that they do. But I feel like they're open enough, and like Emma said, the ability to appreciate different music really helps a lot because you can just know when a song is good or not. So I'd show them without fear of judgment of like they're like, what is this song? Like this is nuts. But I feel like they would appreciate it and they would understand just mostly even because of how comfortable we are with each other. So and it all influenced us. Music did. So it's they understand. We all get it.
Mhm. Awesome. So tell me about a piece of music or an artist that you find to be the most nostalgic. So for example, when I was in middle school, my closest friend and I, we share a love for the rock band Linkin Park. And a few days ago, I listened to their one of their albums. I believe it's Meteora with the famous song "Numb" in it. And yeah, that really takes me back to when I was like in seventh and eighth grade, which admittedly was some of the better times in my life. Yeah. So if high school was pretty terrible, middle school was was where some of my most cherished memories are. So that'd be my example.
I always found myself going back to music that I used to hear when I was really, really young. Like I know me and Emma, we went to the same summer camp when we were really young kids. And I always go back to the music that we used to play at campfire at the summer camp. So I think about a lot of Neil Young and And I believe we sang High and Dry by Radiohead there a
Mhm.
few nights, which looking back probably shouldn't have been sung at a campfire. But Tragically Hip was sung there a lot. America. Um, or I even think about like songs my dad used to listen to when I was growing up in his car. It's like a lot of Bob Seger comes to mind. So like Bob Seger and Crash Test Dummies and stuff like that is very nostalgic for me.
Um, honestly, Hilary just brought up camp, and like 1,000% is so nostalgic for me. Like summertime, like so relaxed with all your friends. Like there's no better feeling than that. Like that's like ultimate nostalgia. But one artist for me that sticks out in particular is someone that I don't listen to very often anymore. But Elton John. In grade 8, I went through this phase where I loved Elton John, like obsessed. Like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, like got me through it. Like it was, I love it. And around that time is when COVID hit and like ultimate isolation from everyone. So music was like hugely important for me then, even more so than now. And I just love Elton's songwriting, and his voice is so bright. Like I don't know how else to explain it. Like it just makes you want to get up and dance. And I just think his music is amazing. It's just something that is very nostalgic for me for COVID, which is unfortunate. But like other than that, I just think he's great.
Um, yeah, so I have had a guitar and been able to play since I was probably about 6 or 7. So I can remember when my dad and I used to sit down on the couch and he would play country songs all the time because that was his favorite. And this was before I had a guitar, so I was pretty young, and I remember this. And he would always play the song "Silver Wings" by Merle Haggard.
Mhm.
And actually, last night I just got a new guitar, and it's a really, really nice guitar. So me and Dad sat down on the couch together, and we kind of had a little family jam session. And my siblings play music as well, my little sister and my little brother. And we all sat down and we played Silver Wings. So it's just that's the one of the most nostalgic songs for me ever. And we still play it to this day, which is even greater because when you do, all the feelings come back in the memories. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. So to what extent have your parents influenced your music taste?
I don't come from a very musical family as such, but I come from a family of music lovers. Like me and my sister were probably the first ones in my family to actually be able to play an instrument. But my dad specifically, he loves music almost in the same way that I do, and that's why we get along so well. Um, but I find especially my dad's music that he used to play when I was growing up and the music that he plays now also ties back to him and his father, so my grandfather. So a lot of Merle Haggard, like Alyssa said, really comes to mind. And Newfoundland artist Shanny Ganook, like that's always playing in my house all the time, like Newfoundland traditional music, which I complain about sometimes to my parents just to make them a little bit mad at me because I'm a bit bad like that. But secretly it is very comforting. Um, so I find a lot of that really influences me and the music I listen to now. Like I love a really good song that tells a story. Like I devour that every single time. Like if I have a little story in the back, I will be listening to it. So yeah, both my parents have influenced my music, but it's mainly my dad. And a lot of the stuff that he listened to as a teenager, he didn't think that I would ever like it. Um, but once we got talking about it a couple of years ago, especially back during COVID, we shared a lot of music. Um, we found out that we had a lot of similarities, and that's kind of what's sticking with me now.
Um, my family has like so hugely influenced the music I listen to. It's actually unreal. To what I call classic dad rock. And I can, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about the second I say dad rock. Like, you got Zeppelin, you got Scorpion, you have the Stones, those classic Guns N' Roses, like, you know what I mean? And I have grown up listening to them, and I do love all of those bands. Like, that's mostly what I listened to growing up, really. But I've never seen someone with diverse taste like my mom. Like, it's actually unreal. She goes from listening to Fleetwood Mac to Shoreline Mafia so quick. Like, it's actually unreal. Like, she loves rap. She likes gangster rap. I'm like, okay. Okay, mom. She loves rock music. And then she'll just start listening to this random, like, emotional song out of nowhere. Like, she literally goes from, like, crazy rap to this, like, song that will make you want to gouge your eyes out. It's so sad. I'm like, you're an insane woman. This is all, like, in her playlist. I'm like, you're crazy. But I think that's where I get a lot of my, like, I want to say diverse taste from is from my mom. And our favorite song to listen to is Fade Into You by Mazzy Star, which is just, it's my favorite song of all time. It's my mom's. And we're actually getting matching tattoos for that song in a couple months. So that's fun. So music has been a huge part of mine and my mom's connection. And my dad's too. They're not super musical in a way that they play music. But in terms of listening to music, they love it probably just as much as I do.
Even though my dad is probably one of the only people that can play in my family, besides for me and my siblings, I feel like everyone has been really, really influential on listening to music and enjoying music. It's like Hilary said, even when it comes down to the Newfoundland music, playing in the kitchen when everyone's together on a Sunday evening, or when it comes to listening to Snoop Dogg in the car with my mom, or listening to Guns N' Roses with my dad, it's always been pushed. And everyone just loves music. And who doesn't like listening to music anyway? But my dad playing has been one of the bigger influences. And I noticed how it also influenced my siblings as well, because the two of them can play, but none of our other like cousins or family or anything like that play. So I'm pretty sure it was mostly my dad playing and all the different kinds of music that my mom listens to.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the person who introduced me to English language pop music is my dad. Even though I don't, my music taste and his do not overlap too well, but I can think of two artists who where there is definitely some overlap. There's John Denver, the one with the "Take Me Home, Country Road" song, and the band Eagles. Um, my dad really likes Hotel California, and as I dive deeper into the Eagles band discography, I discovered that there are a bunch of songs that they have that I like and my dad may like, but every Eagles song always reminds me of my dad. So there's that. And during the time of COVID, I've introduced him to actually Leonard Cohen as well as Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and he really enjoys them. Yeah. So that's really cool. Um, yeah, there's one thing that you and I both seem to have in common is that we develop our music taste almost like unrestrained, like that there would be certain songs or albums with the parental advisory sticker, but I never really concerned myself with that. Like that's never been an issue with either me or my parents. So I wonder if that was for you.
Growing up, my parents, well, not really my parents as a whole, but my dad, he had this rule where I was not allowed to swear, but I could always swear in music if it meant something to me. That's kind of what I grew up with.
My parents gave me the total
Yeah, my
freedom.
family's the exact same. Like,
It gave me total freedom to listen to whatever I wanted. And I feel like that has a
yeah,
lot to
my
do
family's
with
the exact same. Like, it was just,
it had
I
a
can't
lot
hear anything.
it had a lot to do with the personality that I formed over time. I think the freedom that I had to be able to find self-expression through music. And I found all my favorite bands and all the things that I like to do. And every time I found a new artist or new music, I feel like it sort of matched where I was in my life. So I'm really grateful that my parents didn't, restrict me from the parental guidance warning on album covers and stuff. And you know what? I probably even listened to some of that with my parents, like Eminem and Snoop Dogg. So I mean, you know, they I was also a very mature child, so they had a lot of trust in me that I would listen to it and take it in as music and not as real life advice.
Yeah. I think. Oh, Emma, you want
For me, uh, oh, sorry. My internet is like terrible. So if you're wondering if I end up cutting someone off, that is why.
It's okay.
But for me, when I was young, all these like inappropriate songs, I mean, I didn't know what they meant. I just thought they sounded cool. So it's not like I was even listening to them for the like I didn't even realize they were inappropriate at the time because I didn't understand what they said, but I thought the songs were so cool. And like my mom, my dad, I'd always listen to their music and whatever was on was just like what I grew up with, and whether or not that was inappropriate or not didn't really matter because I just didn't understand it. It was just music to me. It didn't need to have this crazy deep like inappropriate meaning. It was just music. So that's kind of my perspective on that.
Mhm.
Emma, you kind of hit a spot with that for me when you mentioned listening to inappropriate music but not knowing what it meant as a child. Um, I recently went back and listened to Katy Perry's Teenage Dream album for the first time since I was like 8.
Mhm.
Like we had no business sitting down and listening to old Katy Perry when we were like 6 and 7. Because looking back on it now, that was so inappropriate, but we were getting down to it. Like there's a song called Peacock on the album, and it's like it's the most insanely inappropriate thing ever. And I was like 8 or 9. Like I was at Emma's listening to that, I believe. Like it
Mhm.
was actually crazy. Like thinking back on the sort of things we used to listen to when we were
Mhm.
younger. But at that point in time, had no other meaning to me, right? But it's definitely an experience listening to the music that we used to listen to as kids again. Like Kesha is another one. I listened to a lot of Kesha growing up with my older sister, and it was definitely not the lifestyle I was living as an 8-year-old.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember there was this the year 2013 for me was like the most forgettable year for pop music, or at least for in my view the worst, because some of the most popular songs at that time were the ones that I was exposed to like involuntarily, that I had to listen to because either the radio was playing it or MTV. There was that thing called MTV back then, and people were playing it at parties and such. And one of those songs is either, was it Roar or Dark Horse from Katy Perry's album at that time. And there was those Taylor Swift songs too. I know that she's getting a new wave of popularity. I never really liked her, even back then. She has some like pretty annoying songs on the air. Um, but between the years of I think 2012 to 2015, I was actually really into Eminem. I don't listen to him as much now, but I can still remember like the kind of exhilaration that I felt when I listened to him. Obviously, all the expletives play a part, right? Well, not only were they expletives, but he had a very skillful way of utilizing like naughty words, and he had a he had a vocabulary that I think my own vocabulary expanded like by double, like after I listened to like a selection of Eminem songs. Like he know how to use words and he know how to rhyme them. And best of all is kind of his attitude towards everything around him. Like he somehow I somehow he gets what it's like to be an outcast and to be bullied and to be looked down upon, which those are the sentiments that I had with me, but I didn't know there were people who felt that way. Other people like Linkin Park, they say that in abstract, but Eminem he goes into details, and that's something that I still find very much appreciative about him.
Yeah, I grew up listening to Eminem, so I totally get that. And Linkin Park too. And Nirvana as well. I feel like they kind of touch on topics like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I totally get what you're saying with the Eminem thing because I feel like, especially, I was probably a little bit too young to be listening to Eminem. I listened
We're we're
anyway.
all we're all way too young to be
Yeah.
listening to him.
And I also remember the thrill that I felt from listening to Eminem, but he's also really real and really down to earth and in touch with real life issues. And he sings about that, well, raps about it a lot. And it's an art in itself. And I feel like a lot of people don't see rap as on the same level as other genres of music. But I feel like Eminem and other really popular artists in the rap genre have to have a lot of talent and a lot of skill to be able to illustrate such amazing ideas through the way that they do.
Mhm.
And that's something I always appreciated.
Yeah. What is remarkable for me about hip hop is that so Eminem was not in the first wave of hip hop, and he was not in the area where hip hop was was born. So he originated from Detroit, Michigan, while hip hop originated in the Bronx, New York. So there's this very specific area, very specific city, and a very specific scene too. So inner city black people. But somehow, after just a few decades, it became a global phenomenon because despite the cultural particularity that it sprang up, it somehow touched into themes that are universal, that touch onto feelings and sentiments and desires and even some of the bad things also, the vices that all nations and all races share. And I think it's something that you know something that many of his detractors do not see. So I'm guessing so you're in high school at the moment. Um, and I'm guessing this is the last semester of you in high school. You're going to be in colleges and universities, maybe, if you so choose to pursue them. What do you suppose you miss the most about your high school years?
I'm definitely gonna miss the extracurriculars. I Although our music program is really small at our high school because we have so little people, I'm definitely gonna miss that. And I'm of course gonna miss drama. But mainly I'm gonna miss seeing the same friends that I've been friends with my whole life every single day. Like I get sentimental when we go out for lunch and I start talking about it. I'm like, guys, I can't believe we're not going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. And while we're like eating a taco dip, it's very weird. Um, but I'm mainly going to miss the social aspect, honestly.
For me, I'm I don't know how to feel about leaving high school, mostly because like I found high school was honestly very stressful. Like in terms of school and work, and it was just not great all the time. There were some great moments, but there's a lot of aspects of it that I didn't love. But at the same time, it really pains me to leave, and that's so confusing. But I think it's because like when things are comfortable, you're kind of you're kind of drawn towards that. Like we come from a small community, small school. So when we go into that school every day, it's the exact same. We're seeing the exact same people, and that is so comfortable. Like, and it's also like living with your parents is so comfortable. Like they well, I'm lucky enough to be in a situation where my parents support me and I'm able to do extracurricular activities and have my band with my friends and do this stuff, and they'll support me in that. But moving away and going to school is something that is exciting, but it makes me so nervous because it's uncharted territory. It's something that's uncomfortable, and I guess in my situation growing up, I've always been pretty comfortable, and it literally terrifies me to move away. But at the same time, you look forward to new things. But yeah, I'd say my favorite thing about high school is just being comfortable with the same people over and over again, and being able to build those connections, like the connection that we have as a group. Same thing with our other friends that we have, as well as teachers and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely my most missed part of high school when we leave.
While it is a bit scary to leave, there also is something else that is a bit comforting about graduating high school. I like the whole idea of being able to start new when we move away. It's like I know I'll be going to university in St. John's, which is about 2 hours away from us now, and nobody knows me in there. And not that I have anything to hide, but I do like the idea of starting fresh and meeting new people based on who I am at the moment and not who I was as a preteen.
I feel like the biggest thing I'm gonna miss is like Emma and Hilary both said is being able to kind of have a routine every day with our friends and the people that we make connections with, our teachers and our peers. And I feel like there's not much for us to really do where we live. So we kind of turn to school as, well, high school anyway, as something to do every day, you know? Like that was the way that we got to see our friends. And also for me, I have two younger siblings. Um, I'm the oldest out of the three of us. And I'm really gonna be sad to not see them. Well, see them graduate and see them, you know, age. I'm not going away forever. I'm just going to um, university. But I will miss not being able to see them down to school and see how their journey goes. You know what I mean? Like I got to leave them now, and they're still growing up and figuring out what they want to do. So that's probably one of the saddest things for me is that I won't be able to be down there in the same school with them anymore.
Mhm. I see. Well, I'm glad that you guys have got a more positive experience and outlook on high school than I am. I think, well, one thing that I remember, yeah, other than, of course, the Neil Young stuff, is how glad I was when high school was over. And, yeah, in hindsight, looking at, from my point of view, perhaps like what, 6, 7 years after my graduation day, I find that I'm even more glad that high school was not like real life at all. Like, when I was in high school, I really thought that this is what real life is. Um, I'm I don't miss how some of the things that other people are other people like expect from you, like other the kind of skills that I'm not good at, whether I have to be like really studious at certain subjects that I have no idea what to do about. Uh, Case in point, mathematics and physical education, and I'm not sporty at all, and I don't do the same kind of things that my peers do. Um, and there are certain things that I think I'm quite good at, like books and movies, that nobody really cares about, but that's not real life at all. I think there are like niches and fandoms for everyone and everything. So that's a good place to connect. And secondly, there's always this expectations, or this a series of expectations, or actually layers of expectations from people, or either your parents or your teachers, that you have to conform to a certain model of human being in order to succeed. But that sort of crowds out the question that you should ask of yourself, like, what do you expect from you? Like, what kind of person would you want to be? And what kind of person would you be the most happy with yourself? And like, it took me a number of years since I exited high school in order to just ask myself that, and to finally come up with like satisfactory answers. And yeah, I have my own answers now, which so far have satisfied me, but they would have never come up if I had been in high school. There are always these like things that were expected from you that you never really got yourself you never really got a chance to ask yourself that.
I agree with that 100%. And I find how we're in a small town, there's kind of this like cookie cutter expectation that if you're really smart in school, that you have to go and spend 10 years on university and secondary school and have this really like doctor or a lawyer or stuff like that. But ever since we started playing music, it's kind of even opened up a little bit more of an opportunity where people are like, you guys have an excellent opportunity and we want you to take it and enjoy it and do what you can and stuff like that, which I feel has been really great for us, because for a long time I felt like I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. No idea whatsoever. And I didn't want to spend 10 years in school studying to be a doctor, you know? And now I feel like I have the opportunity to do this with my friends, and it has been so amazing, and I hope that we can do it for life.
Yeah, I'm just gonna elaborate on that because, like, the second you were talking about school, I'm like, even though I did have a relatively positive school experience, um, I totally agree with literally everything you said. Because although I don't mind school, I do think that the system is so messed up. And it makes me so upset to know, like, there's so many brilliant, talented kids out there that don't know that they're brilliant and talented because school doesn't value what they're good at. And, like, when you're talking about books and movies and all these things that you know so much about, and you're not appreciated for that, like, that sucks. And I think with music, when you're young and you're a child, like, music is something that helps you learn. It's used as a tool, and it's so important. And the second you get to high school, it's like there's no opportunity in that anymore, especially not in a mandatory way. It's like school almost school almost educates the creativity out of you. And like through music in the past like 6 months or year-ish that we've been together, which not quite a year, I don't know what the exact amount is. um I've realized that, like, wow, this is my favorite thing to do. And I didn't even realize it until now because school is something that I've done so heavily, and that's been something that consumed my life. It didn't value that. So now that I'm doing this with my friends and I'm enjoying it, it's kind of shed a new light on me in terms of school, because I'm just now realizing that, like, it's so disappointing. I can't imagine how many kids are out there that don't realize they're brilliant because um, what they're brilliant at is not something that the world appreciates nearly enough.
Hilary, you got something to share?
Emma and Alyssa honestly hit it right on the button that time. Um, but yeah, since we started this band back in June, nobody had ever really let me know that music was an option because every single time that I said, I want to be a rock star when I grow up as a kid, everyone said, you have to get a real job. And they didn't realize that there is opportunity inside of this business. And hopefully I get to do it forever because at the end of the day, you do need entertainment. And it's just like any other industry. It's a service industry, just sometimes overpaid if you can do it, but also sometimes severely underpaid. It's kind of just whatever hand you get dealt. But yeah, I agree with Emma and Alyssa 100%. School kills creativity sometimes.
Okay. So I'll end on this note. So, of the three of you, what does music mean to you?
I guess I'll go first.
I'll go.
Okay, Emma, go.
This is like, oh, or I'll go. Sure. Everything's frozen for me right now. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay. This is like genuinely the hardest question to ever be asked because I don't know a lot about music. So I don't really know what I'm missing in a way. Like if I didn't have music, like I don't even know what my life would be like because that's been my life for literally since I was a baby, essentially. Um, but to me, music to me is even more than music itself. Like the performance aspect is such an escape. Like that's the only way I can explain it. Like when you do a show, people are buying tickets or paying at the door to come and see you. So you are free to entertain as your true self because people are there to see you. They don't want to see a fake version of you. They want to see the person that you are because they're literally paying to see you most of the time. So I think it's just a great excuse to uh, be who you are and uh, let people listen to you. Like you're up on a stage and everyone out there is there to listen to you. So you are free to be yourself. And I think that's like hugely what music is to me. And of course, songwriting too. Songwriting hasn't been in my life forever because for a long time I didn't think I could do it because I had never shared that part of myself with anyone, I guess you could say. But through songwriting, like especially writing, co-writing with the girls, I just realized that like so many people can relate to the things that are going on in my life, and so many people have similar perspectives on life as me. So it's nice to feel that kind of comfort. So yeah, that's what music is to me. It's sharing with everyone and connecting. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree with Emma. We're very similar, like all of us. But for music for me is very much like a sense of belonging because for a long time I felt like it was almost difficult to find other people who were like me, um, and shared my same interests and my same mindset until music came along. And even when I was young, listening to songs and realizing that people wrote these songs and they felt the same way as me, it really is a comfort. And like Emma said, it is an escape. Um, but yeah, mainly it's a sense of community. And that's how I feel about it. I love my little band, you know? And I like it's one of the highlights of my life.
Like the girl said, I feel like you can find through music people who share the same experiences for you. And I feel like I was in elementary school. I didn't have Hilary and Emma. I was like, nerdy little kid with who read Harry Potter and I would listen to Nirvana and I'd be like, wow, this is awesome. I'm so cool. I felt like by music, I found a way to be somebody else and also find comfort in who I was. So I found songs and music and people who were like me and who were not like me, and I could choose whether I wanted to be someone else for the day or be myself when I listen to certain kinds of music. And I feel like that's another thing too, the creative expression of it all. And music has just always been a part of my life, and it will be for the rest of my life, and hopefully with my band. But yeah, it's I feel like the freedom and expression and the way you can relate songs to yourself, or you can escape in songs that have nothing to do with your life. I feel like that's important, and it kind of breaks the norms of every day and the stress, and you get to have a little break and think about something other than your life or what you want to do with your life or the expectations that you have. So
Okay. On that wonderful note, thank you very much. Hilary North, Emma Bursey, and Alyssa Delaney of the band Amity for joining us on this show.
Thank you for having us. It was so much fun.
Thank you.
thank you.